Morning, Reverend Kusala.
Good morning to everyone at the Sunday Dhamma talk. As usual, we start from the meditation, loving kindness meditation, and then we have a Dhamma talk, and then finally question and answer. And today we hope to finish 5 minutes earlier because, like you may notice now, whenever Shanti is not here, he has already went to attend religious activities and another Vietnam temple. So Mr. Nam and I also will go there immediately after finish this program. So, and just to remind, next week we have Ulambana. The program starts at 11. So whenever Shanti reminded me to let everyone know that I'm let you inform to attend and if possible to the Ulambana service. So let's do a loving kindness meditation first. And then after that, we will invite Venerable Sanata Vihari, a resident monk at the Sarachandra temple in Oxford. Okay. Breathe in and breathe out 3 times to relax mind and body. Be comfortable, seated, upright posture to spread loving kindness thoughts. Let's spread in this way. May all the living beings be free from physical illnesses. May all the living beings be free from incoming disturbances. May all the living beings be free from mental illnesses. Let's continue spreading metta thought in this way until we hear the bell sound. Sad, sad, sad. Good morning to everyone again. Now we are kindly inviting Venerable Sanata Vihari to begin his Dhamma talk. Thank you, Bante, for giving Dhamma talk at the ABMC. Thank you. You can proceed now.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you.
First off, I'd like to start by paying my respects to all the Bantes from the International Buddhist Meditation Center, especially the Chief Bante. I know he's not there right now, but my respects to him and all the other Bantes from the center. First, I'll start off by respecting the Buddha. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhase. So happy to be here with all of you. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces. And this, out of all the online events that I've been with International Buddhist Meditation Center, this seems to be the most attended. Well, at least the one that I've been to. I know in person they've had big crowds at times, but online at least this is the one where I see more people than before. So happy to be here and so blessed and honored to be able to share my little drops of Dhamma that I have. As a monastic, we do a lot of counseling, and people come to the viharas, to the temples, to the monasteries, to get some advice from the monks or learn something from the teachings of the Buddha. And one constant theme that I see time and again every week come up, and especially more within the traditional Buddhist community, is this kind of how can I say it, like resigning themselves to karma. Like something happens, oh, it's my karma. Like I got into a car accident, oh, it's my karma. It's like, well, maybe you were on the phone, or maybe maybe your music was too loud. So it was your karma, your negligent action, but it's not what they're saying, right? They're trying to blame a person who's not here now, the person from their past life. So we're always looking to scapegoat people. It's easy to scapegoat someone who's not alive anymore, who already passed away in a previous life. So we kind of see that a lot in the temple. Anything that happens, their children misbehave, or their children don't want to be doctors or engineers. Oh, it's my karma that my child doesn't want to be an engineer, and stuff like that, and things like that. And when stuff happens in the news, they also, try to blame it on karma. And then sometimes we see it used in a very unskillful way, in a kind of way to kind of not deal with people, or to kind of, not dismiss them, right? Like, oh, that's their karma, so whatever, I can be mean to them, or I don't have to help them because it's their karma. So these are a few, unskillful ways that I've seen people grapple with karma as a Buddhist monk. So today I wanted to share with you two different similes that the Buddha provided to us on how we can view karma, right? So it's very important. If we go into the Abhidhamma, we can get really into detail about karma, but I want to keep it very easy. I want to do like a karma for dummies, right? Just keeping it simple so we can understand the principle and help us when we try to think about why is this happening, or why did this happen to this person, or how to create skillful karma for the future and for the present, which is the most important, because we can't change the past. So there's a certain simile in the Majjhima Nikaya, I think Sutta number 5. where the Buddha talks about four types of kammas, four types of actions. I'll start off with the lowest category, which is the most unskillful one, which is an action that brings pain now and pain in the future, followed by an action that brings pleasure now and pain in the future, followed by an action that brings pain now and pleasure in the future. And the highest category is the one that brings pleasant or pleasure, however I was saying it, now and in the future. So what's the lowest, most unskillful category, which is bringing pain now and pain in the future? Well, something that when you do it, automatically does something bad, like killing, stealing, robbing, lying, cheating, breaking the precepts. That's something that brings pain now and in the future will also bring pain in the form of vipaka or pala, which means future consequence or future fruition of the unskillful action. So this is the lowest kind, the most unskillful kind of action, one that brings pain now and pain in the future. The next category, just a bit up, it's still a bad category, but a little bit better, is one that brings pleasure now and pain in the future. So drugs, maybe having an affair, some things like that, right? Where in the moment you're like, this is good, it feels good, and it's an excitement, it's pleasurable. But in the future, it's going to bring bad consequences, bad pala, bad vipaka. Then we're getting into the skillful kammas now. Brings pain now, but brings pleasure, or it's pleasant in the future. So here we can think of an example of maybe like when you have to take medicine, the medicine might be bitter, but in the future it's gonna, heal you, and so it's gonna be better for you in the long run. In the same way, maybe like studying or learning a craft, a skill for kids. I tried, because I've been teaching Dhamma school for 6 years. I tell them, yes, you have to do your homework, and I know you don't like it, and you have to do your chores, but in the future it's gonna pay off. So this is a kind of action which is unpleasant or painful now, but in the future it gives good results. Then there's the actions which are good now and good in the future, or pleasant now and pleasant in the future. One is dana, giving. It feels good to give. It feels good to be kind. It feels good to share. It feels good to do charity now. And because we did a good action in the future, we'll also experience the good results, the good vipaka, the good pala from it. So these are the four, very general, broad categories of actions, right? We have something that brings pain now, pain in the future, pleasant now, pain in the future. Both of these two should be avoided. Then the ones that we should do are pain now, pleasure in the future, or pleasantness in the future, and pleasant now and pleasant in the future. So these are the four ways that we can view kamma. Then the Buddha, in another sutta also, the Buddha explains that there are four types of people in this world according to their kamma. So according to the kamma, there are four types of people in this world. There is a person who is born with good kamma. There's a person who is born with bad kamma and produces bad kamma in this life. There's a person who is born with good kamma and produces bad kamma. There's a person who is born with bad kamma, produces good kamma, and a person who is born with good kamma and produces bad kamma. So the Buddha gives a simile of like a bronze plate. So for the lowest category, the person who is born with bad kamma and produces bad kamma is like a person who has a dirty, old, beat up plate, a bronze plate. And instead of taking care of it, they, put it on the side and they let it get dusty and they never touch it. So it never gets clean. That plate is dirty and it remains dirty. So that's like a person who maybe because somehow in past lives, they're experiencing a lot of bad karma in this life, very unfortunate circumstances, whatever they may be. They think, well, it's a dog eat dog world. I'm just going to do bad karma because, I'm going to get mine and whatever. So I'm just going to keep doing bad stuff. So not only are they experiencing the bad karma from previous lives, but they're creating more bad karma to be experienced in this life and in future lives. So this is like the dirty plate that's kept dirty, left alone, and abandoned. Then there's the next type of person, a person who has a clean plate and doesn't take care of that clean plate and puts it aside and lets it get all dusty and dirty and neglects it. That's like a person who's born into this world with good circumstances, whatever they may be, but they don't realize it. They don't realize I have these good circumstances because of my previous karma. So they do many unskillful actions, many foolish things. And then their karma becomes tainted. They accumulate a lot of bad karma, just like that clean plate becomes dirty. The next category is a person who has a dirty plate and sees that it's dirty and cleans it. He's like, I want to clean this plate. I see that it's dirty. I recognize the taints and I want to remove them. So this is like a person who maybe is born into this world with difficult circumstances because of previous actions in another life. And they see, wait a minute, I know how karma works. I must have done unskillful things in the past. Therefore, now I should change my life around and follow the skillful way. So in the future, I can have better circumstances, either in this life or in the next. And then the top category is a person who in the past did skillful actions and recognizes that they did skillful actions because they have good circumstances and continues to do skillful actions. So in the future, they have good circumstances. This is like a person who has a clean plate, recognizes that it's a clean plate and keeps it clean, right? So the examples are a person who has a dirty plate, keeps it dirty, leaves it alone, lets it continue to get dirty. A person who has a clean plate and neglects it and lets it get dirty. A person who has a dirty plate and cleans it, and a person who has a clean plate and keeps it clean. So these are the 4 types of people that are in this world according to their karma. Okay? So this is just a very, very brief outline of karma, you know? I feel that sometimes if, you know, we try to jump too deep into certain topics, like what is wisdom or what is emptiness or what is karma, you know, and the Buddha taught the path as a gradual path, gradual training. Especially if you read the Digha Nikaya, which is most the suttas are, you know, directed more towards lay people. You can see how the Buddha talks about, you know, the benefits of giving, the benefits of morality, the benefits of heaven, and then the Buddha talks about, you know, the higher truths. So in a similar way, when we approach topics like karma, I know the way I presented it, and even in the sutta seems kind of juvenile, right? With these similes, kind of like, oh, cartoon version of karma. But the Buddha himself taught it this way. We have to kind of, you know, start at ground zero, like start at the base, at the foundation, and build our way up, understanding these very basic things of karma before we can start wondering, you know, the things that Buddha told us not to do, right? When it comes to karma, everyone, you know, what was I in the past? Who was I in the past? Where was I in the past? Who will I be in the future? Where will I be in the future? How will I be in the future? And etc. All the speculative views that the Buddha said we shouldn't waste our time on, that only a Sammasan Buddha can know and it will drive a regular person crazy. Those are the ones we love, right? We love to be Bodhi tree philosophers, like, you know, armchair philosophers, but Bodhi tree philosophers. But no, we shouldn't do that. The Buddha said, no, we should only understand karma for the extent necessary. So the Buddha took a very pragmatic approach on karma, right? Just for you to know what is skillful and what is unskillful, what is kusala and akusala. That's the main gist behind karma. You have to know what is good for you, good for others, good for you and others, and what is bad for you, bad for others, bad for you and others. That's what karma is about. Karma is about producing kusala, skillful states that lead towards creating conditions for awakening, and avoiding creating unskillful actions in mind, speech, and body that take you away from awakening. So this is the main thing, you know, this is the foundation. Now, if you want to learn more because you're just intellectually inclined, that's fine. But this is, I think, the extent that we need to know. And even when you look at other teachings, like when the Buddha talks about meditation, he always, when he talks about the breath, he talks about to the extent necessary also. So you see this kind of pragmatic approach to all the teachings of the Buddha. They're not just for like knowledge sake or, you know, gee whiz, Jeopardy night kind of knowledge. It's for you to accomplish a certain goal, which is to create skillful states, to create the adequate conditions for awakening. So I just say this because, you know, we're very tempted to, you know, get into all these little things and little nicks and stuff like that and get lost and not get, you know, a wider picture or picture within the context that the Buddha wants us to think about certain topics. And also to help us avoid all this kind of stuff, which I talked about in the beginning that I encounter a lot, how people like to blame their karma and, you know, dismiss other people. Well, oh, they're like that because it's their karma, so I don't have to help them because they're a bad person. All those things are not skillful. Those are not skillful ways to handle karma. The skillful way to handle karma is to recognize an unwholesome action before it happens, when it happens, or after it happens, and then the next time, do a good action instead. That's what karma means. That's the whole gist behind it. So I want to keep it short because I know Bantes have limited time today. So, and I want to leave time for questions and answers. So I think now we can proceed to the question and answer part.
Bante, you have enough time. You can continue if you want. You can like around like 10, nearly 10 minutes or 15 minutes. If you want, you can continue.
Okay, Bante. What I'll do is when someone asks a question, then I'll digress and I'll get into some other topic. That's how I'll do it.
Okay, great. Great.
I'll go on a rant about something. I think it was Pascal.
Yeah. Hi, Bhante. Thanks for your good sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I was raised a Catholic. I did many Buddhist retreats for an American, maybe 80 or 90 retreats if I count all the weekend retreats, and I did 2 fairly long ones for a layperson, 21 days, I think, in a 14-day, and about 13 7-day and 4-day and 3-day, and about 52 days with Trungpa Rinpoche's group, with the Shambhala training. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Yes.
But the more I practice Buddhism, because I was raised a Catholic, it seems like everybody I meet, the average people, all kind of explain it the same way, but they use different names. Like in the West, we say fate. And it's kind of overwhelming because say if you were a priest and you had 100 people in your community and some people had really bad luck, and then you would say, well, don't despair, it's your fate, God loves you. But it's the same thing. It's an explanation. But what I'm trying to get at is the longer I study Buddhism, I just came up with the idea that I don't understand karma. The Buddha can understand karma, but it's his awakened state. It's not like he's like a high-ranking CEO. He is awakened. And I think that's the hardest thing for me as a Buddhist to realize. And when I talk to people, I get it the same thing. No one seems to be able to comprehend that Buddha was all-knowing. And to me, that's one of the key features of being a Buddhist. He was all-knowing. And I think we can be realistic and say, well, maybe we don't know what karma is, but we can study the Four Noble Truths. So I'd like your opinion, and I would like you to think about what I shared, because I think I'm on the right track. We're making realities out of concepts that we really don't understand.
Thank you for sharing that. As I said earlier, the Buddha tells us in the suttas that if an unawakened person tries to contemplate these things, they'll go crazy, right? So he says it himself. So that's kind of what you're saying, where you've came to the realization of that. And also we have to remember that under the Bodhi tree, the Buddha had 3 knowledges. First one was of his previous lives. 1, 2, 3, 100, 1,000, many kalpas, hundreds and millions of kalpas. He saw no foreseeable end to this samsara. The second knowledge was of beings passing away and being reborn according to their karma. So I like to think about it like the Buddha saw, I don't know, like a person walking in from one door and walking out of another. I think that's one of the similes that they use in the suttas. So the Buddha could see how some beings are dying right now and then they're reborn in another place. So that's how he understood. He connected the dots with karma too, not only from his own previous life. And then the third knowledge was the knowledge of, we can say, Four Noble Truths or Paticca Samuppada, many different ways to explain it. So after he saw all of this is when he was able to understand completely how karma works, right? And how to get out of it, how to get out of the system, because samsara is the karma system, the karma matrix, right? There's no way to escape this karma matrix by doing karma. So no matter how many good actions you do, you can't get out. You'll just be, if you're lucky, you'll be reborn in a heaven. And if you're the person who does the most amount of good actions, you're reborn as Maha Brahma, and you're the first one to appear in the universe. And that's probably the best you'll get. but then you're going to die too anyway. So that's what's unique about Buddhism, that merit is necessary but not sufficient, right? So merit is only necessary to the extent that it creates good conditions where you're born in a place where you can practice safely, where you have good friends, kalyanamitas, where you have access to the Dhamma, so you can become awakened. But just doing good actions in themselves is not sufficient for awakening. So that's, kind of something that we also have to keep in context when we look at karma within, the Buddhist teachings. It has its place, but it's not, the liberating truth or the liberating practice. Then we have Sean.
Yes, hi, thank you, Bhante, very much. I really appreciate it that you're bringing up the pragmatic aspect of it. And I had a quick question about with the people, 4 different types of people born according to their karma, and I almost feel like, and maybe they're not ranked similarly to the types of karmic actions, but it's going along with, if it is ranked, like from the least skillful or least worthy person. That's a bad rendering of how I want to say it, but the least skillful person to the most skillful. I almost feel like being born with bad karma and producing good is more noble than being born with good karma and producing good. But then again, if you were born with good karma, that's because of previous actions. But what always gets me a little confused is, I think this is my limited understanding, that the Hindu interpretation of reincarnation was that your soul, your individual soul, was reincarnated. And now in Buddhism, the understanding is that there is no individual soul, really. So what's rebirthed, which is why there's a difference in name, reincarnation, rebirth, isn't so much an individual part of you. So I've always wondered, how does your past karma affect it's not even one's new life, because it's not the same one. I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding, maybe I'm not understanding correctly, and I would love to be corrected, or shown some light on that, as well as, like, if you have any food for thought about, my point of view that being born with bad karma, I think you have to work harder to produce good karma then. I think that's almost more noble. Like, you have to put more effort in. You have to recognize more. You have to gain awareness first that you have bad karma, that your situation is tough. And then to change it, that can be more difficult than the person born, with really good karma. So I don't know. It's 2 kind of different things that I'm asking about. Thank you.
So the easy answer about karma going from one life to another is that the Buddha never tells us, in the suttas at least, how that happens. He never tells us. Later on, different schools, in their abhidhammas and commentaries, try to come up with solutions, but every school has a different solution to solve the problem. So, whatever. But if the Buddha didn't tell us, there must be a reason, right? So I take his wisdom on that matter, why he remains silent in the suttas, at least in the early Buddhist text. The other thing about is that you kind of hinted on it about the different types of person. They are ranked, actually, so there is a ranking. We don't. You see that every one of us were one of these 4 in a previous life, right? So we have to remember that. Maybe in this life we're born as the good person with good karma and doing good karma, but in the previous one, maybe we're the one with bad karma doing good karma, and before that, maybe we're the one with bad karma and doing bad karma. So as modern people or Western people, whatever we want to call it, we have to get out of our limited context of one life. we tend to see everything. Oh, like we try to see the Dhamma here, and that also causes a lot of pressure and stress, because you think, well, I have to become an arahant in this life, and if I don't become an arahant in this life, I'm a bad Buddhist. No, you're not a bad Buddhist if you don't become an arahant in this life, right? I encourage you to strive for it, but if you don't achieve it, don't beat yourself up. It doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you less of a Buddhist. If you open your mind to many lives, well, I'm gonna keep practicing. I'm gonna do whatever I can do in this life, and if I don't achieve it, in the next one or in the one after that, but at some point I'll achieve it. So a lot of these kind of struggles or things that kind of we find difficult in Buddhism, if we open our mind to, infinite lives in the past and in the future, it kind of takes off a lot of this pressure and urgency and self-criticism or skepticism about it. We have to open our mind to that, although we're very much focused in, this is my only life, right? Like YOLO.
Yeah, thank you. And to your first point, that might be one of those Bodhi tree philosopher things that I get. I'm reading Red Pine's translation and commentary of the Heart Sutra right now, and my mind is like, I'm part of the intellectual Bodhi tree philosopher part's loving it, but I also realize that a lot of it is kind of unnecessary and probably a little too far advanced for myself. But even if it wasn't, I wonder how necessary it really is to be reading about all of that when Buddhism really is so practical. And maybe that's why Buddha didn't touch on that point, is because it doesn't matter. It won't help us or hurt us on our way to enlightenment, knowing how we're rebirthed, how our karma passes along, just knowing that it does. So thank you for your response.
Yeah. I think there was something in the chat. Let me double check. I was thinking about the dilemma of a person who is born with a dirty plate that includes organically, medical, psychiatric limitations that impair their ability to make choices that lead to a clean plate. For example, impaired ability to concentrate, to control their impulse. How will they ever get their plate clean? So here's a very, tragic or perspective that the Buddha gives on this kind of situation, is that once you start going down, it's so difficult to get out. So difficult, especially if you go into like the animal realms, anything lower than a human, you're basically going to be there for many universes, like until you become Lassie and start doing all these good things. But until you become, I don't know how often do you see animals do these kind of things? It happens, but it's not their natural inclination. So even as a human, once you start, getting into these states where you might have physical impairments or other kinds of things, it's difficult. And not until that karma expires, because you still have good karma too from other previous lives, but your bad karma, which is stronger because the conditions are more conducive towards it arising in this life, until those go away, you're going to be able to escape it. But unfortunately, yeah, it's a tragic cycle that people get stuck in. It's hard. It's, it's a hard thing. I have nothing nice to say about it. Sorry. Selvin?
Thank you, Bhante, for the lovely talk. I appreciate you saying a few minutes ago how we tend to limit things to this lifetime. Because it's something that I think I've actually kind of come across that idea recently, because a lot of times we tend to think that somebody's having good karma, even though they may not be a good person. And the way that I say, well, we don't know what's going to happen in their next lifetime. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I think I appreciate you using the 4 plates analogy or simile. And even though it might seem kind of uncomplicated, I think it's very easy in terms of, there's a Western saying of saying you play with the cards you're dealt. Mm-hmm. And the same way, kind of you look at your plate. You're not gonna looking at other people's plates is not gonna get your plate in a whatever shape you want it. I do want to share something that I think it's important in terms of my own path. is when I came to Buddhism, of course, you know, I shouldn't say of course, I was in a difficult place. And it's kind of hard to sort of just see the simplicity of just cleaning the plate when I'm in pain, when I'm hurting, when I'm not in a place that I don't want to be. Like all I want is, I don't want to be where I am. But it's, you know, it's like, well, just deal with the plate. So in that sense, I do think it's for me, I like to share that because I do think that it was helpful for me to sort of be okay with that, not fight it, and still clean the plate, or whatever analogy or simile we want to use. Because that's, you know, we are dealt the cards that we're dealt. Fighting it is not gonna change that. It is difficult though, and it takes time. So that's, I don't know if it's a question or more like sharing. Thank you again for the talk.
No, thank you for sharing that. And you bring up a good point, which is we shouldn't, you know, be criticizing other people's plates, you know, and looking at other people's plates and, you know, stuff like that. As you said, it's not very skillful for us. If anything, you know, we just end up getting frustrated, or we build resentment, or we dismiss people. And so we really have to worry about, you know, cleaning our own plate. You know, I'm trying to remember this beautiful Zen koan that really touches upon this, where there was a monk, a young monk, and he went to a temple and they just had him, you know, doing chores all day. And he came up to the teacher and he said, you know, when are you gonna teach me meditation? Like, when are we gonna get to the real stuff? And then the teacher tells him, you know, have you cleaned your plate? And he goes, have you cleaned your bowl? He goes, no, we'll go clean it. And that was it, you know, and then he left. So very pragmatic teaching, right? Like, stop worrying about all this other stuff. Just do what you need to do. Do the work that you need to do. If that's, you know, cleaning up your bad karma, or producing new good karma, or practicing charity, or studying suttas, or doing meditation, just do whatever you need to do to clean your plate, instead of trying to, you know, look for some way to get out of it by looking other places. So, I mean, that's the way I understood that koan. You know, koans can be understood in many different ways. The answer is not obvious in the koans, and that's the whole point of it. But, you know, I really like that teaching because it brings us back to this pragmatic level of just doing what you need to do now, you know. And his job was to do the chores, and he wants to meditate. Well, his meditation is to do the chores. So clean your bowl. That's what you got to do. That's your job, right? So that was his, we have our own duties. We may be a mother, a father, a son, a sister, a teacher, a doctor, a janitor, whatever. Do your job. Do that. You know, contribute to society.
I want to add to that though, in the it do your job, and it takes time. You know, I want to add something else about the becoming an arahant in this lifetime. I remember reading hearing the sutta of the guy that kills 999 people, and there's one more. Yeah, thank you. And then he became an arahant, right? And I'm like, maybe I need to go. I'm joking about this, by the way. Like, maybe I need to go kill 900. But it's excuse me. It takes time, and I think it's sort of what I want to emphasize. It takes patience. This is to your point. We're focusing on this lifetime, not knowing how many previous lifetimes we have had to deal with. So just wanted to say that. Thank you again. I do enjoy the plates.
The Buddha said, Kanti paramon tapo, which means patience is the highest austerity, or the highest practice, right? So even when on our way to awakening, we have to practice patience the whole way. It's really a foundational practice. That's why you see it in the paramitas, something that you need to have all the time. Joseph.
Thank you. Can you hear me? No, you can't. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the talk. I'm having trouble understanding the type of action that is, I guess, unskillful or causes negative consequences in the present, but good consequences in the future. That it seems to me I mean, it seems to me, one, that's something that I could easily abuse and saying, well, this may hurt you now, but I'm doing it for your benefit kind of thing, you know? And that if whatever action I'm doing with loving kindness, is it even possible for that to cause a current negative? I mean, can that be a bad action if that's the way I'm behaving? I'm having trouble understanding how that action works.
Yeah, so these actions are ranked. So the Buddha encourages us to always try to attempt to do the one where, you know, it's good now and good in the future. So that's the one we should be always trying to do. But if we can't get that one, there are times where we might have to do something that is unpleasant now, but brings pleasantness in the future. Maybe like sitting down for an hour in meditation and your legs are hurting. Instead of you within the first 5 minutes, oh, I got an itch or my legs hurt, I'm going to give up because it's unpleasant. You're like, no, you know, I know I'm not going to die from sitting 30 or 40 minutes in meditation. I'm going to just practice patience and try to relax the body and calm the mind and continue on with my meditation. Or maybe, you know, you wake up kind of tired and you're like, I'm not going to go to Sunday's Zoom meeting at 11 because I'm not feeling so good today. But by pushing through, and you might not be that comfortable here right now, you're picking up on Dhamma, you're creating skillful kusala states of mind that in the future will bring great fruit. So, you know, it's in this sense that the Buddha is talking about, you know, kind of putting up or with something that might be difficult now, but in the future might bring good consequences. But this is not the ideal, right? This is not what the Buddha is saying we should do all the time. The ideal is to do the one which is pleasant now and pleasant in the future, which would kind of line up to what you're saying about metta, the Brahma Viharas. So if you do something, you know, with authentic metta, not just kind of like, well, I know what metta is, so whatever I do, that's fine. Because we have to be careful sometimes, you know, what we think metta is may not be real metta, right? It just might be the way we justify ourselves to do certain things, because we can twist the Dhamma to justify our actions. But if we do action with metta, loving kindness, then yes, it'll be good now and good in the future. And that's what the Buddha is trying to get us to do. But he's giving you the rank order of, like, you know, from bottom to top, from top to bottom.
Thank you.
Victor. Oh, you're on mute, Victor.
Yeah. Thank you for such a great talk. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone has any question? I don't think we have question right now, and it's the time to end the program. So first, we gratefully thank to Mr. Selvin for bringing Dano yesterday for us for the resident months here. And now we kindly invite you, everyone who can attend the next week Ulambana that will be held just behind the Zendo. So please attend the program if you're possible. And now we are going to chant page number 4 and page number 10. Let's start. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Diluting passion fire inexhaustible, I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find help relief. Nguyện ý thử công đức phổ cập nhất thiết ngã đẳng dự chúng sanh giai cộng thán Phật đạo. Nguyện di thử công đức phổ cập nhất thiết ngã đẳng dự chúng sanh giai cộng thán Phật đạo. Nguyện di thử công đức phổ cập nhất thiết ngã đẳng dự chúng sanh giai cộng thánh Phật đạo. Bhante Sanatavihari, thank you so much for giving Dhamma talk. And last time, I'm going to remind that everyone, if possible, attend the next week, Sunday, Ulambana service starting at 11. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, everyone.